Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. How are we doing today?
Great.
I'm so excited. We have our boy. What are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
Great.
You just didn't even wait for me to say anything.
Because I'm the man of the hour.
You said, hi, guys, and then you only
Addressed.
Well,
Kirk.
men. She was talking about men.
So that excluded you
Okay.
immediately.
Yeah, see, there you go.
We got our boy Kirk here. And
Kirk
Kirk-
Coco.
No,
Cuckoo.
no, not cuckoo.
Kirk Coco.
Coco, like Chanel.
oh, I love it.
See?
See, I only know how to do field degree because of the temperature. That's all I know.
I've known him for, 14 years.
Mhm.
I've called him DeGry until this show came out. And
Me
I
too.
I was like, your name is Degree?
Yeah.
Never
I'm like,
corrected me. Never
Yeah.
told me anything.
I know. I completely agree with you. When we were getting ready for the podcast, he's like, I just have to tell you one thing. I was like, okay, duly noted.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for taking your time to come out here on our podcast of Make It Count. Phil says you have an amazing story. I can't wait to deep dive into it. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take it away.
Well, first off, I was told there would be drinks, and there aren't.
But you were supposed to bring them.
I am
I
actually
didn't know
disappointed.
that. I'm disappointed.
I thought for
I thought-
sure. I mean,
bartender,
you show-
cocktails.
First
I'm
of
dressed
all,
up.
I
I
know.
thought it was going to be this beautiful
if you're watching
event.
on YouTube, you notice Kirk is actually spiffing this thing up. And
With a sports coat.
Unnecessarily.
Yeah, unnecessarily. I told Jennifer 30 minutes ago, I'm not surprised if he shows up with a glass of wine.
I would have shown up with a 6-pack of beer at least,
Yeah.
or maybe a few bottles of wine, or
Yeah.
a bottle of whiskey or something like that. But I
Yeah.
thought you would have all
I know.
that
You thought we were
prepared.
professional.
Yeah.
That's where you
Yeah,
went wrong.
there's no preparation. God bless it.
So now we have
We
to
missed
invite
it.
him back.
So now you're
Yeah.
stuck with me sober, which
And-
is really not fun.
and
You're not gonna
Jennifer's
enjoy
like,
this conversation. at
This
all.
is a health and fitness environment. We don't have alcohol.
Yeah, he's like,
here.
where's the whiskey? I'm like, not around here. Got your
Yeah.
protein shakes next to
Yeah.
it.
The protein shake did not sound appealing.
Yeah, I know. With some chia seeds in it.
Now, if we had an Irish Channel Stout shake, which Phil used to make at Phil's Grill, the greatest
Oh,
hamburger
here we go.
ever
Shameless plug.
for a business that does not
Doesn't
exist anymore.
exist.
Ain't
Okay.
there no more.
Sponsored by Phil's Grill. We no longer exist.
That's why we have no money.
But they made a mean shake with Irish Channel Stout. It was delicious.
Maybe he'll give us the recipe.
Oh, and cheeseburger soup. It was so good. And the bison burger. I can tell you my whole order right now. If anybody wants to know what I ordered at a restaurant that no longer exists.
That's right.
Aren't you
That's right.
glad you tuned into this podcast? Um, all right, ask me some questions. Or else I'll just sit here and roll all
All right,
day.
Kirk, talk about, let's start from day one. You were an
I
entrepreneur.
was born a poor man.
There you go.
No, I wasn't. I was born average. I was an entrepreneur. I was a naval officer for a while. Got out of the Navy when Katrina hit New Orleans. Came back home. Was going to start a business. Started working on a oddly preserve company business plan because Crystal Preserves had closed in New Orleans, and I had wonderful memories of driving in from Kenna, Louisiana, brah, and coming over the interstate and smelling whatever Crystal Preserves was making. So if they were making apple jelly, it smelled like apples. If they were making hot sauce, your eyes burned. It was really cool. Part of the city that's no longer there.
Like Phil's Grill.
Like Phil's Grill. Somebody fund this. Please let him open Phil's Grill again. If there's some
If there's a
rich man
God.
out there who has money to blow
Yeah.
and knows that there's no chance of making anything out of it, open Phil's Grill again.
This is your story.
Not mine. That's right. I'm sorry. So then, or open a new brewery and let me do it. So I was working on this business plan to create a preserve company, drinking Dixie beer at the Mayfair Lounge, which is kind of a hole-in-the-wall lounge run by this, well, I assume she's still running it. I don't know. Miss Gertie, who was at the time in her late 70s, probably 90-something now, and drinking Dixie. And she goes, that ain't made here no more. And I said, what? Miss Gertie, it's not made in New Orleans? Where's it made? She goes, it's made up in Wisconsin. And I said, well, then why are you serving it? She goes, nobody else makes beer in this city. And I said, oh, that's a better idea than, jelly.
Yeah.
Which it really is.
Beer versus
And back
jelly.
in the day, like, wasn't Falstaff made here and Jack's.
It's a huge brewing. We were the hub of Southern beer, basically.
Yeah.
We had Falstaff, Jack's, 4X. I know I'm
Dixie.
forgetting all Dixie, obviously. Lots of others. There's some Eagle. I should remember all of them. I used to have a PowerPoint on it that I would, when people would come over to have meetings, I would do, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Many brain cells ago. So decided to open a brewery, and amazingly at the time, considering New Orleans was like a wasteland, got funding and a lot of loans from banks. A great guy named John Atkinson got me my loan at Hancock Bank. He now runs the whole entrepreneur community, Idea Village. He's in charge of that. Super smart guy. Obviously, because he knew that I was a good investment and decided to make a loan. Which I actually paid off. So
there you go.
So opened a brewery, NOLA Brewing Company on Chapatula Street. It's still there. You can go there and see the baby that I created and no longer own, but it's running and functioning. And ran it for 11 years.
When did that open?
2007. Started in 2007.
Yeah.
The property basically was all set to go in 2008, but it didn't get beer out the door till 2009 because very difficult to get permitting in the city.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about permitting. We could talk about that.
We can talk about this.
Oh, did you have to deal with? You didn't have to deal.
Camp Street. Yeah.
Camp Street.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
To start
I'm
a
sure
business
it's even
in New
worse
Orleans, you literally have to be a glutton for punishment, some sort of a masochist to start a business here. I want it to be different, and hopefully it will be one day, but it's extremely difficult to open a business in this city. And then when you do, the number of like, oh, by the way, we have this tax too, because you live within 5 miles of the convention center, even though nobody would ever walk those 5 miles to get to your business. You have to pay an extra special tax. It's a little
I had
crazy.
to pay an airspace fee for my sign to go over the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Airspace.
Well, that's why you just don't put signs up.
What?
No wonder your business didn't make
Exactly.
it. There was no sign.
It's going to be a small sign. No one's going to see it. I'm going to close in 12 months.
There you go.
It was only there for 12 months?
Downtown. No, it was like 15 months downtown, but no, it wasn't.
It was a beautiful location.
Yeah, it was. It was great.
Really pretty.
It was a former recording studio.
Yeah.
It's like some of the greats of the city recorded there.
It still had these like stars or something on the floor.
It was like Allen Toussaint.
The Dixie cups, right?
The Dixie cups. Fats Domino. Yeah. There's some.
Clearly, I never went to that location.
No. There was this lady that used to come in and like she ran like a tackle box, like a fishing little store right around there, like outdoorsy thing. It didn't really fit the neighborhood, but whatever. But she would come in and sit at the bar, and I only had NOLA beer on tap.
Lovely man, this Phil.
But she would come in and sit at the bar and tell stories because when she was in high school, she used to hang out at the recording studio. And like she told a story, she came in with a picture of she and Aaron Neville and Robert Plant smoking a joint on the sofa in that building. She was like, Led Zeppelin came to town and they wanted to hear New Orleans music, and so Cosmo Matassa rounded up New Orleans musicians like Dr. John and the Nevilles, and she was
That's
like,
cool.
she was like, I was 17 years old, skipped school, came out, hang out with Led Zeppelin. She had a picture of it. I was like, wow. Can we say smoking a joint on the? It's all medicinal.
It's all. Ours is explicit already.
It's going through a VPN in Denver, Colorado, so I think we're fine.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a very cool space. So.
Awesome. Well, Kirk, talk to us a little bit about the down. Like, so we've got this business.
Oh, yeah. We're living life
we're
large.
living life
I'm running
large.
a brewery. It is the second largest brewery in the state. Like almost instantly as soon as I opened it, because Abita
there weren't any
it.
others.
Yeah.
No, I'm
So,
just kidding.
well, not much.
There's not much.
I tell you, and we were the only one in New Orleans. So, all of a sudden, getting a little popularity in the news. Feeling good about myself. I mean, I didn't have the giant face T-shirt that Phil had.
No,
for
but you
Phil's
could have
Grill.
been mayor of New Orleans.
For maybe a week. No, I couldn't have, because Drew Brees was already here, and he was
Okay.
Inevitably the
But he
mayor
wasn't gonna
choice.
run. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to either.
But you could have been.
Oh, well, there you go.
You could have been.
Oh, well, I guess.
I couldn't have
shucks.
actually been the mayor of Metairie because
You
Tommy
could have been.
Satanovich. Well, no,
think
Tommy
you
would have
could have.
been, but it would have been a runoff.
I still think you could be mayor of Metairie. If there was an actual mayor. of
Correct.
Metairie.
Yeah.
If it wasn't an unincorporated
Yeah.
entity.
Thank God there isn't.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
because
But-
mayors
but,
are so good. Look how well New Orleans is doing.
But
Yeah.
our companies were growing at the same time, and that's
That's kind of how we knew each other.
Yeah.
He was carrying my beer because I went and
Yeah.
gave him a sob story about how I really needed him to carry my beer. And he's loyal to New Orleans people, so he
Yeah.
was there just like I am.
yeah.
And then we kind of bonded. I don't know really how it came about, but
We were drinking beer.
well,
and
also
eating
because
burgers.
my cousin is your good friend. Well, not just
He's
your
my
good friend, your
brother-in-law.
brother-in-law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Joey Hunter,
Yeah.
who now got mentioned
John's
on a
Tuxedos.
podcast that he doesn't know anything about. John's Tuxedos. Go there. Joey, Scotty, the whole crew.
I think we should name this episode "Shameless Plugs"
That should
of
be.
all New Orleans.
What else can we
Scotty
plug?
actually doesn't work at John's, but
Well,
Mikey and Andy
and Mikey
do.
and Andy do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of the whole family. I didn't realize Scotty
No.
wasn't there too.
No.
He does have another career though.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But John's Tuxedos for all your formal wear needs.
Wait, we're gonna have to charge them for that.
Oh, don't worry.
Sponsorship.
Oh, we're gonna send a bill.
Sending a bill.
I'm sending a bill too. I need money. Look,
Awesome. So you're coming
No,
out.
but yeah, so our
you're living
companies
up
are
the-
growing
yeah.
together.
Yeah. we're both. Yeah, we're
Yeah, we
like
started at the same time. I mean, I started in 07.
getting press,
Yeah.
living large.
Yeah.
Maybe getting the nice table at a restaurant every once in a while. A
Yeah.
chef dropping off a free dessert.
Our
You
burger.
never know. Or a burger.
I don't know what that's like. So tell me more.
But we would
free
run into
food.
each other because we did a lot of events around,
Yeah.
around town.
Yeah, because he'd be serving food at an event. I'd be serving
The
beers at an
Yeah.
event.
burgers and beer. baby.
And we became good friends. I
Yeah.
think we hung out a
Yeah.
lot and drank a lot and,
yeah.
commiserated, laughed. We laugh a lot still, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not going to cry on this show. There's no,
No,
crying
you
on
can't.
this show.
You can't.
Oh, we haven't
promise
gotten
that.
to the down yet.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're,
it's
we're,
coming.
we're- it's
Let me
coming.
tell
I got
you.
the tissue right here. There is no tissue.
It's not going to happen. I'll keep him laughing. So we were all doing great, and then that's where I went a bridge too far, and said, "Man, I'm doing so good with this beer thing. I'm really enjoying like more whiskeys and stuff as I'm getting into the alcohol scene, I guess."
He was maturing.
I was maturing like a fine wine, like a beautiful Scotch whiskey. And then I tanked. Yeah. So I opened a distillery, which amazingly banks were more than happy to give me money for without, I guess, looking over my business plan as well as they did on the brewery one. So started this distillery, NOLA Distillery. It is still there on Tchoupitoulas. It is owned by Larry Flint of Hustler magazine fame.
Oh, wow.
And he pumps out Hustler vodka from there. So
Really?
If you want to go see the Trail of Tears that is my career, you can just drive down Tchoupitoulas Street and see it all. Opened that distillery, was pouring my heart and soul into it, and we were making very, very good product. We made an excellent a sweet potato based vodka. We made this great thing called French truck coffee, which it's not French truck coffee. It is French truck coffee with a ton of vodka in it.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. It was called Coffee Cruiser. And I still, if there was any reason for anything I've done to still exist, I want that drink to exist because it was the greatest thing on like a Sunday morning before a Saints game to pour yourself a cup of Coffee Cruiser, which was like pouring yourself straight vodka with some coffee chaser in it. And it drank smooth just like a regular, like a kind of, iced coffee.
Like an
It was-
Irish Channel,
No, not like
Shake?
an Irish Channel Shake. That
No.
was even better, but
Irish
sweeter.
Channel Stout.
Irish Channel Stout Shake.
Okay. I made a
Um,
beer shake.
And Phil made
Yeah.
a beer shake out of my
I was
Irish
just
Channel
wondering why
Stout.
that wasn't the greatest drink ever, but
Uh,
it's
yeah,
okay.
It was good. It was very
we
good.
said earlier it's all about Phil, so I was just wondering.
That's true.
yeah.
He made a great shake with my beer, which
Yeah.
we can go
That's
over your whole
that's a
menu.
weird
We can-
combination. People were like, "What?"
Yeah, people would go, why
Put
would
an ice
we
cream
order
in
that?
it.
But it was
Yeah,
delicious.
It was good.
Really good. Best shake I ever had.
Yeah. Awesome. Anyway,
Well, you haven't had my shakes, but let's just keep
I have
going.
the protein shake. Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't
Got
think
chia
it's going to beat
seeds.
the beer shake, all right? It's great. We actually put lard in it. You'll enjoy it. So proteiny.
Yeah.
So opened that distillery. It did not go as well as I thought it would, even though we were getting good reviews and getting good press. What I figured out is if you make a good beer, people go back to the grocery store and buy 2 or 3 6-packs of that beer every week or two. If you make a good vodka, people buy the bottle and then it sits on their shelf for about 6 months or a year. And we were producing as many bottles of vodka as we were cans of beer. And that was way too much vodka.
Yeah.
So the money wasn't pouring in as much as I thought it would. And just a series of dominoes fell at that point where the bank, I won't mention their name, but they decided, well, even though you're hitting everything you said you were going to do in our loan, well, there's a clause where we can accelerate the loan, and we're going to do that. So they accelerated the loan, and closing that meant I had to quickly restructure to try to save my finances, which meant selling a bunch of stock in the brewery. And getting somebody else to come in and manage that, which I did to Doug Wallner, who is an absolutely great man and now runs NOLA Brewing. Super nice guy. He was a mentor to me when I was an entrepreneur. And he took over the brewery, and then unfortunately COVID hit right after that. So he dealt with a brewery where you couldn't sell beer at the brewery and nobody was buying kegs of beer because there were no bars. So he dealt with an absolutely horrible situation that magically I avoided. So my wife to this day will go, you losing the brewery and the distillery right then was probably the best thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah.
And it probably was. No joke. I know Phil is very religious. I am not. But there is a certain part in my head that goes, maybe that whole religion thing is real, because there is if I had been going like that, I was also working crazy hours and we had just had a baby, I don't know that I'd still be married, because I was out till 3 or 4 in the morning every night, and then waking up our schedules would have never connected. I would never have seen my wife. In general, I'm healthier now. It's like when you're in the booze industry, or the food hamburger industry. It's not a healthy lifestyle. So all you people who are in the service industry, come work out at Triumph Fitness. So see,
there you go, another shameless plug.
Your
gonna have to
business.
charge
I can't
her.
leave anybody out.
I love it. So let me ask you this, because I'm an entrepreneur, still in the game.
You're not beaten like us.
She's still young.
I still have the spark in me.
It'll get blown out soon enough. Don't you worry.
Good to know. What, like, when you realize you have this idea and then you're like, oh shit, it's not working out. What happens in your mindset that, like, maybe this is a female thing versus a male thing? Like, I'm not good enough. I didn't work hard enough. Or maybe it's just like an aggressive personality. Did you have any of those thoughts?
See, here's our problem. We were like, well, of course we're killing it.
Yeah.
We're us. And that's why we failed. So you'll probably do just wonderful. Don't worry about it. We were like, nobody can close my business. It's my business.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of...
Until they do.
Unnecessary. There's no crying, Phil.
I'm not crying.
On
like
the inside. On the inside, he
like
is.
you, I am healthier than I've ever been.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But y'all industry was completely different than what I'm doing. Like, y'all were up till 3 a.m. eating burgers and drinking beer, where this industry is a little bit more like, I got to exercise. I got to eat my protein shakes.
We were not healthy. There's no doubt about that. But there's still stress. And your business is going to create stress in your life, no matter how you slice it up. When you are the last call, when you're the last wall of defense against some horrible error occurring, which of course it did, there's an undue amount of stress on you. Maybe not as much as there should have been, because my business is out of business. But every night you go to sleep and you go, I wonder if I just screwed up the whole business today. I wonder if my decision to go into this state with my product, was that good or was it really stupid?
Yep.
And some of those decisions were really stupid and some were good. Sometimes you open up a place on the North Shore, and sometimes you shouldn't.
Exactly.
It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes, but when you're the last line of defense, your mistakes are not looked at by anybody. So your mistakes just slide through, and it is a scary feeling. And then it's scarier when the mistake actually slides through and it's bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
COVID sucked. Being a business owner during COVID was definitely.
I'm so glad I wasn't.
It was, and I've heard, I have a lot of friends who like sold their business, lost it like right before, and they all like divine intervention. They're like, I don't think I would have made it through.
Yeah.
And I was like, it sucked. I almost lost my husband and my marriage, my business. I had a 10-month-old at the time. It was really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, all right. So when you lost your business, or what, like you had NOLA Brewery and you had the distillery, and then the distillery wasn't doing so well, so you moved things around. Did you still have the brewery at that time, or you got rid of both of them at the same time?
I had a portion of the shares of the brewery, but I pulled myself out as CEO because this new guy was coming in.
Oh yeah.
And Dylan Lintern, who's a great CEO over there right now, he was my COO, just did a fantastic job running with it, and it continues to this day to make great beer and do wonderful things there. For me, it was tough. And Phil, I know you definitely felt this too. Mm-hmm. When you have a brand and you have a business that you run, especially one where people come in all the time and they're seeing you and meeting you, people just see you as the burger guy or the beer guy. So I'd be out with my wife and people would walk up to the table and be like, dude, you're the beer guy. And they'd like engage in this conversation for 40 minutes. My wife would be like, oh God, not again. Here we go. Gonna talk for beer. And you know, she's eating her meal and I'm talking to this guy. But I'm sure that happened to you all the time too. Well, all of a sudden you're not the burger guy and you're not the beer guy. So now you're out to eat and you know, Danielle's like, oh, so nice. We can finally eat on our own. I'm like, well, why didn't anybody walk up to me? Doesn't somebody want to talk beer with me? I still know a lot about beer. I can tell you all about beer. I ran a brewery for a long time. But that's just it's a big change. And trying to figure out, and it seems silly now, but trying to figure out who I was after that me was done. Which I'd done with the moving from the Navy to the brewery, but that was an easy change because I rolled right back into this role that was very big and easy to put on. And then I was out and I was like, I'm just like regular Joe, you know, or in my case, regular Kirk, but which is not very regular. I promise you. I think y'all can see that already. But trying to figure out who I was again, it was its own little journey. It probably
and working for somebody else.
Very fortunately working for somebody else. So
but still, that's hard.
When you run a business for 11 years, you know what I learned? Nobody wants to hire you after that because they're like, this guy ran a brewery for 11 years. Like he's going to come in, he's going to listen to me.
Right.
So a great guy, Poco Sloss and Stephen Ellis over at Bellwether Technology. Another plug. There you go. Let's see how many plugs I can get in on this show.
Remember, they all have to pay.
Yeah. How many of these turn into sponsorships?
As long as I don't have to pay for it, I'm fine. They took a chance on me. I mean, they really did. And I remember when they hired me, I think, you know, the first thing I said was like, God, you know, I hope I can like listen to you guys and not just like mouth off all the time and say, well, that's a horrible way to do it. What are you doing this for?
I think I said that a lot. They
also ran their business very well. So it was easy to work there. Yeah. And that was it. It pulled me out of it, having a job. I was still closing the distillery and transferring things at the brewery when I was working at the new job.
Okay.
So not having any downtime was a huge savior.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so stressed and trying to pay bills and everything because along with that, I'll expose the whole dirty truth of my life. I had to file for bankruptcy, which was like a whole big stressful ball of fire coming at you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you did that, Phil.
I did.
But if you did, it makes you feel very
inadequate.
Yeah, emasculated, inadequate. Yeah. And then people, like when people find out, they're like, oh, you did what? Oh, like they didn't care that your business failed, but you had to file for bankruptcy. That's now they like one step away from you. Maybe they're not talking to you at the cocktail party anymore. It's a little.
Why is that weird. A big stigma though?
Don't know.
It's a failure.
It's a failure.
So
you filed for bankruptcy? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because I don't
Ooh.
have a tattoo.
I see. Well, and I'm doing a podcast with you. Oh my
Yeah,
god!
wait,
Maybe we should shut this thing down right now.
You're the make it count part. I'm the dark side.
Got it.
You're the light.
Got it.
But I remember coming out of like a meeting, where I, expressed my opinion on something, and then somebody else afterwards came up to me and was like, "Man, it was just said that, well, he closed his business, right? Like my opinion
Didn't matter.
you can't listen to that, dude failed." And I was like, outwardly I was like, I learned so much in failure that, whatever, they can think what they think. And then on the inside, I was just like, God bless it.
It hurts. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a gut punch.
But that knowing the edge and how it feels to go over, it's huge value. Because most people who are running their business, they're starting up their business for the first time. I think they need somebody like that around.
Yeah.
Like, you can push farther. Like, you're not at that edge yet.
Yeah.
Or, dude, you're about to lose this whole business. You need to pull back and restructure and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And if I had somebody like that in my business, I'm sure they would have told me that and said, hey, look, now's the time. Like 6 months before, now's the time where you need to really reevaluate how things are going and if you want to keep moving in this direction. So having that knowledge, I think, is very beneficial.
Yeah.
But it also, there is another aspect when you're an entrepreneur. You almost need a lack of all the threats that are out there, because if you knew all the reasons that could go wrong, you would never start a business.
Right.
It's like that.
Right.
Well, I have to be honest. This is making me a tad bit nervous talking to this podcast.
you have to.
Don't worry. They say 1 in 100 businesses actually succeed. So
Oh, I'm the one.
that's
There you
it.
go.
There you go.
See?
Well, that's how you have to think. Yeah. I've got this down. All these other idiots keep losing their businesses. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. But you do have to listen to you have to tune out the noise, but you have to listen to the voices, if that makes sense. Like, you got to hear that wisdom from people, but you also have to tune out the noise and say, I got this.
Yeah.
Make sound decisions. But
I mean, that's why I called you before I opened up my second
I
business.
know.
And you were
And now
like,
look where we're at.
I know. Should never called you and never opened up that second business.
Yeah.
Because it's a scary road. I mean,
It's always scary.
Yeah.
But it's exhilarating too.
yeah.
It's like, I don't know, pick your X game, right? These people that go out and do crazy stuff. I saw this guy on TV the other day flipping a BMX bike 5 times in the air. I said, that's just stupid. What possible benefit could you get out of flipping a bike 5 times a year? Yeah. But the benefit is, wow, I hit it.
Yeah.
Like, what a great feeling. And so when you start a business and you hit it, I mean, anybody like Sterling who opened Crew, Patrick Comer, with Lucid. And when all of a sudden you realize this idea that I had that I thought maybe will work is booming, what a great feeling. It's like a rush, but it's kind of a dangerous rush too, like any drug. Because then you get a little high on yourself, and then you're the guy who's like, I can't make a bad move. I'll go open a distillery.
Yeah.
So I think when you get really confident is when you have to watch out.
Yeah.
Like if you're still completely stressed out and feel like you said, that phase where I don't know if I'm capable of doing this. So that's probably right, that sweet spot where you want to be.
Yeah.
If you're still worried that you don't have everything you need to do it, it's when you go, oh, I got this now. I know exactly what I'm doing.
Kirk,
I could duplicate it 10 times.
It's funny you said this because, I mean, I'm shared this with Phil a couple of times, but before I lost my son, Grayson, that's where I was.
Yeah.
I was cocky. I was confident. I had that edge to me that, I could open this up everywhere.
Yeah, that is a dangerous attitude.
Yes, it is. And my whole make it count journey was losing my son, and he humbled me. He humbled me very much, And now I'm on the other side of it, and I live in that, that sweet spot of, I know I can do this, but I know I want to impact other people too, kind of thing, if that makes sense. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was there. And it's a scary, looking back and reflecting, it is a scary place to be in that cocky, confident era.
And anybody who's in that window, especially if you're listening right now, simmer down. Back it off a little bit. Realize that you can make mistakes. You've gotten lucky this far.
Yeah.
And I mean, I say lucky. It was a lot of hard work to get to where I was, but it was luck too. And you don't realize how much luck until you're out of it. Yeah. You're like, man, I can't even believe I got that far. I mean, look, how many restaurants did you have, Phil?
6.
6 restaurants. That's like, I mean, there are big restaurants in the city that don't have 6.
Yeah. Well, that's so weird about like what we define success and failure, right? Mm-hmm. Like he opened up 6 restaurants. You had 2 separate businesses that are still thriving today. But you have to file bankruptcy.
The distillery isn't thriving. It's producing Hustler vodka.
I'm sorry. Okay. They're still in business.
They are. They're still going. Yeah, there you go.
But like that are still, your legacy that you started is still there, I guess what I'm saying. So that like to me is success. But then other people would be like, well, you filed bankruptcy. That's a failure. Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
Well, a lot of people, especially today, I think they focus on the negative. So they focus on the failure. They don't focus on the make it count. And one reason I wanted you here is that every time, it didn't matter what you were going through on the side, I knew some of it, but we'd run into each other and he was the same Kirk. Like it was like,
oh, that's nice.
You didn't let that define you. You were moving forward, and now, you've moved on from that job to your current job, and it's just, you just.
Yep. At Susco, the place to go for custom software. If you need custom software, go to Susco.
So you're in software business now?
I am.
So you're making an account in the software.
I'm making
Do you sell or?
I am the director of support, so I run kind of the non-coder part of the business. The guy who started the company I'm at now, Susco, his name is Neil Suss. That's the name.
They're definitely giving us a sponsorship.
Oh, yeah. He is writing us a check.
By the way, he's sponsoring your running thing. Running for Dreams.
Well, yeah. Running for Dreams.
We're not
next Saturday.
No, make it count. It's not next Saturday when it airs.
All right. When this airs, I will probably still be icing my leg.
You'll be done.
Yeah.
So none of you can sponsor now.
No. You can still sponsor. Because Running for Dreams
is
an ongoing
sponsor.
Foundation.
It's a great foundation.
Yeah, it's ongoing foundation.
You want to tell us about it, Phil?
We had a whole episode on it.
Oh, that's right.
You can refer back to episode number.
We don't know what the number is.
Exactly.
We don't keep up with the numbers.
We'll put it in the show notes, Brian. Brian will put in the show notes.
I've never read the show notes.
Brian's like, this is the worst podcast I've ever recorded.
I've never read the show notes. Do we really have show notes?
Only when we put it in the show notes.
Brian, think about how much better this would have been if we had brought booze. You'd have to run that thing for like 3 hours. We'd just be on here partying,
looking at his
doing
watch,
shots.
Jeez,
yeah,
Pete.
We could talk about Susco, but that's not what this show's about.
No, it's about you making an account.
It is.
You found another job. Go ahead.
You found another job, but
I'll tell you how I made it count.
But personally,
yes.
Now
I made it count by becoming a better husband, father, human than I was when I thought I was at the top of my game. And then you realize kind of what's more important. And the other thing, I know you had this too, Phil, I'm positive. When you are booming, when you're just doing great and everything you touches is gold, you have like a billion friends. Yeah. Everybody is your best friend. You go out, people are like, let me buy you a drink. Hey, how's it going? Coco, oh, yeah, it's nice to see you. And then your business goes out of business and the phone is just dead silent. You walk out, you see people they walk away from you. And it's just like, man, I really had no friends. I had like 5 friends. And they're my 5 friends. They know. There's a speed dial like text thing. Yeah. And Terry, Frank, Todd, Wonder, you guys know who you are. You're my only friends. That's it. Everybody else fled and left me. So you were completely abandoned for a while. And then people tried to like kind of come back like 3 years later and say, hey, how's it going? I was like, well, kind of screw you.
Yeah.
Go away. You weren't there when I needed you.
So let me ask you this. How did you become that better? It didn't happen overnight. What did you have to do? Like some personal growth and development? Like, what did you do to get to that better husband, better wife?
Yeah, I mean,
you're not a wife, by the way.
I'm not as good a wife as I should be, I suppose. Yeah,
gotta go through.
Really a fault
gotta go through a couple of those to get to
talk about some changes. Well, that's a whole nother show, right?
No,
y'all can talk about that.
You've been through a couple of them.
I've been thinking. I'll go talk to my doctor about that. We'll see later. That if we do it, we'll do another show if I decide that. No, I have a great wife, and she probably helped me grow more than anything, and still does from day one. She's made me a better person. And I don't know, probably just, the difficulties of it all. Just when you survive something horrible, and that's not really horrible, as I know your story.
I mean, it's,
But it's all relative, right?
It is horrible.
At the time, it feels horrible.
The perspective
and it
of
builds a better person out of you.
Like it took me probably to get 4 years down the road to say.
That wasn't bad.
Not bad.
I think once you get stage 4 cancer, then you're like, who cares about losing a business? That's a much more serious issue.
It's a much more serious thing.
Yeah,
but when you're in it, and it attaches to your
you're responsible for other people and their livelihood.
And like I said, if I had not had the job that I had, like immediately while I was still closing everything to go to, man, I'd have been beat. Because every morning I was waking up and just didn't want to wake up, wanted to stay in bed. When you're depressed, your body kind of wants to shut down. You don't want to do anything. And so having something that I knew I had to go to because I needed that money to pay off all the debt that I had and everything, it's like, well, I'm going to get up and run and do it and get going. If I had not had that, if somehow I had not gotten a job and I had just been sitting at home, that would have been a level of depression that I don't know that I could have dealt with.
Yeah.
Just having something to do. So if you know somebody who's in a situation where they have lost their business or lost the family members or a spouse or something, engage them, get them doing stuff. That is so important, because if you have something you have to get up for every morning, even if it's a volunteer job that you've made them commit to, or a coffee every day at 9 o'clock that you go have with them, makes them get up, get dressed, get showered, get out of bed at all. Yeah. That is a huge impetus to continue your life. Because I'm telling you right now, you don't want to do anything. Of that. You want to lay in bed and go back to sleep and keep asleep until you wake up and the horrible dream is over and your business is still there.
And absolutely.
You go back to the brewery and have a few beers and have a good time and everybody loves you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen.
And we've been talking about this. We don't do any prep, but we'll all of a sudden something will come up and we'll start talking back and forth or texting or whatever, and about we've someone else that wants to come on the show, or we want them to come on the show, but they're like, well, I mean, I'm not doing anything big to make it count. Like, starting a podcast or starting a foundation or whatever. And Jennifer's like, because it's a friend of hers, and she's like, no, just sometimes putting your feet on the floor is making it count.
It's true.
And that's what people don't realize. And like, you have to gut through depression.
You really do. It's very difficult. And again, I had a great support system, and I had at the time a 1-year-old boy that it's like, I have to be there for him. I can't just like bail out on this whole team here.
Yeah.
So that was a lot easier to stick and move forward.
But some people don't. Some people don't. Even with kids, even you hear the stories all the time that they take their life, or they get so depressed that like,
or
God,
they bail. They leave their family.
They bail. I went to the dark side.
Well, I mean,
that they commit
but that happens too. You're right.
Yeah, like so there has to be something.
And the pandemic was huge for that.
Yeah.
Like,
but I still think you're still seeing the effects of the pandemic now. Like people were in it, and then they're like having to re-engage with people, and they're not really sure how to do it.
And there's people that lost their business because of the pandemic, and then have nothing. And the pandemic, they're isolated. And that's why.
I mean, it was the
suicide
situation.
rate was, through the roof. And
I won't get political, but just the way everything was handled by everyone.
By everyone.
Terrible. Yeah, by everyone.
Not a good. Hopefully, we have learned. So when the real bad pandemic comes, because this was like not even a big deal, really. When you look at the numbers, like the Spanish flu was worse than this.
Right.
But I do think if you didn't have anything to go to, it's very difficult. I wanted to flee. Look. The first thing I brought up to my wife was, let's move.
Yeah.
Like, because after about 6 months where, like I said, all my friends are kind of ignoring me. You go out, people act funny. I would go to my own brewery, and then people would ignore me there.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what was up with that. I'm not even going to ask for an explanation, Doug. But there was like a point where I was like, I just want to get out of the city and go someplace where nobody knows me and start over.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of glad I didn't, because it's a little bit like facing your fears,
Yeah.
right? Because if I had
Absolutely.
left, I
Getting
would have
uncomfortable.
always kind of felt like I just fled. Like you said, you want to flee. But I did. I did want to flee. I wanted to get away from everybody going, oh, look, that's Kirk. He came out to the party even though he's lost his business.
Yeah.
I belong to an entrepreneur group. I'm still part of it. And I remember for the first year after it, maybe even longer, I don't know. Tim Williamson, you'll probably have a date for when I finally broke this, but I just didn't go to anything. And I was like, I don't think I should be a member anymore. And they were like, why? You're an entrepreneur. You started 2 businesses. You're perfect. No, I'm not an entrepreneur anymore.
I don't have anything to offer.
Yeah. That's what I felt.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that anymore. I do feel like I have a lot to offer. And fortunately, a lot of people now come and ask me questions, and it's nice to be consulted. That makes you feel kind of good too. You know how that is.
Yeah.
But,
great. I made Phil feel good about himself.
See, no crying on this show. We're going to feel good today. Yeah. We're going to make it count. We're going to run for our dreams.
In triumph.
He's got to come back here. I love
Seafood City, 1826 North Broad.
Ain't there no more either.
Oh, damn it. I guess I'm getting no money from them, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, man. So let me ask you this. Any itch for entrepreneurship? Open another business?
I mean, I think the itch is always there when you've done it, but it would have to be the right thing. It would have to give me some kind of pay that's equal to what I'm making now, which I doubt would happen. So, I'm going to relax. I'm going to enjoy my son's younger years, and maybe when he's a little older and takes less time, then maybe look into
but you'll be really old then.
I'm really old now. Phil.
I
I'm
know.
really
That's
old.
what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm ancient. If you're not watching,
we're the
on
same age, but
podcast, I look like I'm like
I have grandkids older than
an
me.
old saint. You have grandkids older than me?
No, older than your son.
Oh,
I have
yeah,
one
that's
grandson
true.
older. 6.
Yeah, you are. So you're actually mentally much older than me because you're a grandfather.
Yeah.
That means
And
I'm mature.
That clicks something in your brain that just starts some kind of dopamine drip, and your brain stops functioning. And right? Isn't that what happens?
So that's the excuse.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right description.
No, okay. I'm sorry.
I thought you were going somewhere like I was going to be this wise old grandfather, and I'm not that grandfather.
No, you're not that grandfather.
I'm not that guy.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
You're fit.
Yes,
You look great.
I am fit.
He
Thank
looks
you.
way better than when he was running his hamburger business.
I was eating a lot of burgers,
Oh,
drinking a lot of beer.
I was doing that too.
Yeah.
I actually look better too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
away from the food and liquor business, that you can
Yeah, man.
cut some weight quick.
So if somebody's out there listening that's in the food and liquor business, or they run in their own business and they're kind of feeling frustrated, down on themselves, what wisdom, what can you give them?
Well, either drink a lot more liquor and eat a lot more burgers, because that makes you feel good. It's not
It
bad.
does make you feel good.
Or re-examine your life.
Yeah.
No, the food and liquor business is fantastic, but if you have a lack of self-control, which sometimes I do,
Mhm.
it can get dangerous because you're around everything that you like all the time, and that's probably not the healthiest thing, like reality to live in.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you're in there and that's your feeling, you might want to get out of the business, or you might want to do some Zen meditation in the morning and set a really tight schedule so that you're not like I would do. Oh, well, I'm going to go out and drink, and it's 5 a.m. and I'll stay out. And then I can skip morning work and just go in the afternoon. Which when you own a business, you can kind of do.
You kind of do that.
You can kind of do, but it catches up really quick.
Yeah. It's not a good idea.
It's not a good idea.
No.
I've made some bad decisions.
So if somebody else is out there and they want to make it count, what are some giving 2 top tips that you can give them to make it count? That's an entrepreneur feeling like they're failing.
Yeah. 2 things. One, being an entrepreneur isn't about you. It's about the business. So when you start the business, and I do think I was pretty good about this always. Every decision you need to make it should have nothing to do with you. You're the final decision maker, but take input from everybody on your team, and then I would always, because my dad was a super smart genius guy, I would go, what would my dad do in this situation, and try to make the wisest decision for the company, or for me, I used to say for the brand, for NOLA. And I think I always did that when I was running the brewery and the distillery too. So that would be number one. Don't make decisions like what's going to be good for you. Because I would see a lot of small business owners who are booming right at the and they're buying like, really expensive sports cars and getting a house on St. Charles. And I'm like, are you taking all the money out of the business right now? Because that seems like a bad choice.
Right.
Make good decisions for your business, because that protects the business and your team. Because you have now, and that was my biggest stressor when the distillery and brewery were in flux. I was like, oh my God, there are people who make their money because of me, and they're not going to make it next month.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get everybody jobs that worked at the distillery, which I almost did. Everybody but one person, I got a job. And then making sure there was somebody to support the brewery so that none of those people lost their jobs, because that was a ridiculous number of people. And if that had been on my head, I think I would feel much more like a failure right now, because I had ruined other people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
But, so rule number one, make decisions that are good for the business, good for the brand. And then number two, I think, and this is easily lost by some people, not me and Phil, who we totally did this, but you've got to enjoy what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being an entrepreneur is stressful and horrible and everything else, but it is also super fun.
Yeah.
And if you aren't enjoying the first part of a startup, then don't get out now, because if you're not enjoying that part, it just gets worse after that.
Yeah.
The fun of building it, the excitement of building it, oh my God, this thing could actually get off the ground and we could actually make money doing this. There was a seminal moment where we had been waiting to get beer out for over a year. Permitting issues, distributor issues, all kinds of stuff. And finally, our beer is going out for the first time. And me and Dylan, who at the time was not my COO, he was like my accounting guy, but we all were like sweeping and mopping and cleaning kegs. There were just Peter, he, and I. Peter was my brewmaster and still is the brewmaster.
Angry Pete.
Angry Pete. Angry Pete's not angry
He's not
anymore.
angry at all.
He got his knees replaced and he's fantastic
Okay.
now.
He's not
a happy
angry
guy.
at all.
He was angry because his knees hurt so bad. Like, she's
I think he was
"This
angry
is
because he
running
worked for you.
80 minutes longer than we normally do on him. She's checked her watch like 5 times.
I have my husband's home with the kids.
Yeah.
It's
her
making me
Fitbit.
nervous.
This is getting her so worked up. Her heart goes going off.
Brian's over there like,
You have a heart
I'm getting paid
irregularity.
overtime. No, you're not.
See, that's a good businessman right there. No, you're not
There's
making
no
overtime. You get paid for
Number
30
3.
minutes, however long this goes.
That's right.
Number 3, you don't get paid overtime.
No, but we both, I think, really comfortably enjoyed that. And so you've
Even
got
the
to,
stress. I mean,
Yeah.
I would go home and be stressed, and Christina, who is not an entrepreneur, would be like, oh, you got to cut the cord. You got to this. And I'm like, no. It's just a little stress. Like, I'm fine. Like,
it's very exciting. It is a
exciting.
rush.
Yeah.
So if you've got to enjoy that part of the business.
Yeah.
And if you're not enjoying that, then sell the business or do whatever. Get out.
Yeah.
Because that's really the energy of being an entrepreneur comes from enjoying that stress and the excitement of it and the growth. I mean, it's very much like your own child. It's like you produce something and it's yours. It is, and so when somebody adopts it, it's very painful.
Yeah.
Especially when that adopter is Larry Flint of Hustler magazine. Very, very sad.
You're not bitter about that.
It's like my daughter went to Penthouse and did a shoot or something. That's what it feels like. Great.
That's funny.
But I think something else that you've done to make it count is you realized the investment you needed to make wasn't in this huge group of friends, but tight-knit group, wife and son, your family, and just a tight-knit group of friends.
Definitely. Which is
we've talked about that on this podcast too. Like, sometimes you just got to cut people out.
It's important. You got to cut people out. Look, there were people in this group of friends that I had, who the only time I heard from was, "Oh, I'm throwing a party. Can you bring over 4 cases of beer or something?" I remember one time this no joke, this girl asked me, I'm not going to say her name. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
I was
Thought
waiting
about
for it. She's not
But
paying us.
She asked me for beer to a party that she had not invited me to. I was like, I go, did you invite me to that party? And she like backpedaled on the phone. She's like, well, no, but if you wanted to come, I was like, you want me to give you beer for a party you didn't even invite me to? Are you kidding me?
Did you give the beer?
No, I didn't give the beer.
That was a good
I was going to say that might have been why you had to close. Just kidding.
No, I was pretty careful about
that's another thing you got to watch.
Giving away anything.
With
I would
your
give to charities.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, and to this day, the friends that I have now never ask me for anything.
Those are the real friends.
And that's how you know. If somebody's asking you for something right off the bat, like that person is probably not your friend.
Yeah.
That's rule number 3. That's a good one.
That's like a life rule. That's not even a business rule.
Yeah.
If somebody just asks you for stuff, they're not your friend.
Yeah.
Get rid of them. Yeah. Friends are the ones that come to you with stuff when you don't ask, that come to help out. Not the ones that are looking for a handout. That's a whole different game. And there are a lot of those people out there.
Yeah. So, Kirk, we want to definitely invite you back to bring the beer.
She's like, wait, if you would just shut up for a second so I can end this show. Kirk, we want to invite you back.
No.
So shut up now.
I was inviting you back so you could bring the beer.
Oh, I will bring beer.
On to the
I'll bring
people.
some beer and some whiskey because,
And then we can have a taste test. I don't drink either, but it sounds great.
You don't drink?
I don't drink whiskey. My husband.
Have you given up drinking?
She probably, sometimes. I do it here and there.
Kirk, I don't know if you know this, but my husband's like a huge fan of the NOLA Brewing and Distillery.
Yeah.
He was
when
like,
I told him you were coming, he was like, man, I think I have a 6-pack in the refrigerator.
Yeah, and he's
You should have grabbed it. We could have had something to drink here.
He's home with the kids.
He's home with the kids.
Maybe Brett should have come.
He's probably plowed through that 6-pack already.
And given some to the kids.
It's like my wife is like the typical mom where like you get home from work and you look over at her and she's got a glass of wine.
She's ready.
She's like, you want a glass of wine? And usually for me, I'm more of a power drinker. Like I'm not having a glass of wine. I'll have 3 bottles of wine, but I'm not gonna. It's just a waste to have a glass. Like I'll just drink water or something. So she's very
a glass. Don't insult me.
Yeah, she'll have a glass or 2 and be done. I don't know how she does it.
Yeah.
All right, Kirk. You cool if I wrap it up? Are you okay?
Yeah.
If you don't wrap it up, he's not going to stop.
I really want to thank you guys for coming on my show. It's been a wonderful interview. Remember to make it count.